You guys can see where we stand, right? So the month of May is gone, and this is your monthly candle that printed. So it's obviously bullish, made higher highs, higher lows, and we're not too far away, right, from, I would say, all-time highs, right? So when you think about it, you're kind of like right here, about 4% away, considering everything that took place and where we are, macro and bonds. Is it surprising that we're here? Yeah, but sometimes you have to, get more people, more liquidity. And I'm not saying that there's a sell-off to continue, right? We are in a 3-week balance, and I'll show you guys that. And you'll see it here on the weekly candles, right? When you take a look at this is the range that we've been in for 3 weeks now. So if you guys take a look here, don't extend it. This is just the range that we are trading right now. So, oops. So this is it, right? So you're talking about 608 all the way down to about 5734, and that's what they've been giving us, right? And it's not surprise, right? When you look at this value here, right, we're sitting kind of inside of it here, right? We're sitting inside the value, so if they stay here and they're not rejecting the bottom, most likely they're going to go towards a 662, and then ultimately I would think they want to clean up the the poor highs that we left. So let me see this. Now if I extend it, you guys will see where we are. Since we entered this zone, I'm basically looking, once you got inside of this, and you could maybe even extend it a little bit here. Once you got inside, like, how are you doing with the value here? And you see here, they got in, they defended this area, they got rejected, and now ultimately the bulls want to hold this, right? The goal is for bulls not to crack this level below here. As long as they're building price here, is this bullish or bearish for you guys?
Bullish.
Anyone else evil besides evil?
I say bullish because they're trying to keep price above.
Yeah, that's not evil. That's there's too many evil people here. Evil 9, I believe that was Evil Unicorn, if I remember your voice.
Niner.
There's too many of you guys. Can you guys be nice? So now if you look at this, right, we sold off, right, and we rejected the values, right? So if you think about it here, this was at one point a value, right? And you can see this on, if you change this to, hopefully you guys can distinguish, but treat these LVNs as separation of values, right? So if you look here, at one point they disagreed, and now they basically disagreeing here, and they're looking for more upside. If they're really bearish, that we should have rejected out of this area fairly quickly. But instead, we're spending 3 weeks inside of the penthouse. I would say there's another level of the penthouse, and I don't even know the name we want to call it. But take a look, like somewhere around here, I believe it was something there. It was something like this that we had. I believe it was 36, but whatever. Very close. So you can see that there was a little bit of value being built here, right? And now, they've been trying to get into that top floor, but they're not able to, right? So now if they lose this bottom, then most likely I would say, you have some HVN sitting here as levels target, 5631, 5540. And then ultimately, I would say probably this LVN at 5400, but that's only if they break this 5725, and we were pretty far away from it, right? And the weekly candle, still made higher high and it closed below. Not the most bullish or bearish candles, honestly. This is on a weekly time frame, you're just in balance, right? So I would say you have to trade the balance as it is, right? And then when you go on the daily, same concept, and you see here, the only thing that you should pay attention is to see what. Is there any absorption happening just based on what you're seeing here?
Looks like they're keeping it propped up.
Could be.
Yeah, so when you look at this, now you look at the more details, right? You're looking to see what's happening with volume, and is the move being, remember, as we auction higher, we should have some volume, right? Is there a chance we can auction higher with less volume? Certainly, but the move is not being accepted in terms of volume. Just like when we auction some stuff, when I demonstrate the purpose of auction, as you go higher, there's less interest in prices higher. But then you pay attention and say, hey, well, what's going on when you get really to the top? Small candles, no volume, not really nothing concerned here. But then there's something here. right? You look at this candle, the second, or let's delete this one. And what do you notice about this, for instance, candle? Well, besides this one here, which relatively checks out, the bottom of this candle is most likely going to be the problem. And I would put that right here. That's going to be the problem. And look where they're bouncing right at it, right? So now you look at all the other candles and see if there's anything unusual. This one here, a little bit of unusual, right? You have a small body, very above average volume relative, the two candles we have to compare with. What about this one? Does this one check out?
Yes.
Check again.
Yeah, no, it's an anomaly.
So this one here, I mean, when you compare it, we only have two candles to compare, right? Which is this one right here, right? With this volume. And I'm just giving you more details sometimes to pay attention to, right? Because there's warning signs, and now you look at this one for you, right? So you pay attention, this volume to this one, the body of these candles is very close to identical. This one is 2%. And this, no, that's wrong. This one is almost 2%, so relatively close. But what about volume?
It's less.
So let's take a look. So this one had 1.27 million and this one had 1.8 million contracts traded.
How did you do them?
Well, you can right click and move pane above, and then you don't see the volume necessarily here. You just see the bars. If you move this below, then you can see the volume of these bars.
Thank you.
I just don't like it because it separates the screen. Okay, does that make sense to all? So there's some warning signs here on the buying. This is the only candle, but they held the low of that candle, right? I mean, where we open, right? They held that, so that's fairly important for them. And I don't know why is it not deleting here. So that's good. Is there anything else that doesn't check out in terms of being so bullish? Is there any other anomalies you guys can see? What about this one?
Yeah, the second time
What about
the second
this
time
one?
that we tested the top of that range, it was just like a nasty wick instead of like being able to close anything.
Yeah, so this one here is, if this one had volume as equivalent to this one, then I'd be like, man, that's pretty bad. But then, the following days, it's not like they gave us a lot of heavy volume either, right? I mean, it's above average volume, but the direction is really, really unclear. I mean, you have a doji here, you have a hammer here, really no range on this day. And here we are below this POC now, which is, I believe, from October of last year. September of last year. And if you want it to be correct, you could even go this far and see. And now that POC is a 56.33. And look where we're rejecting. It's pretty funny, right? Right at the kind of first sig, you peaked above and now you're struggling. I would say there's probably a high chance we're going to go at least to this LVN and maybe ultimately to the bottom here. At least that's how I would see it. Because there's a little bit of signs. And then if you look at the weekly, is there anything here that you guys see as well, anomalies wise?
Prices going up on lower volume.
Yeah. So then just zoom in like maybe here and take a look, right? I'm on weekly, right? And you can see, I would just pay attention first to the big ones. As soon as you reach the top, also does the volume spike. For instance, on this one, look at this right here. This one was a little odd, right? You came to the top, nice bearish candle, right? Bearish piercing, and nothing here. And then the following candle, I mean, this one started picking up, right? Oh, I meant to do one next. Okay, so if it's a pretty good discount, what do you expect to see? Well, they did what they're supposed to, right? They started buying it, pretty large volume, right? There's a big tail, they bought it, and then they eventually went over this. But then what happened?
Decreased volume.
A lot of people bought it here, and now they're dependent on somebody else to drive this price higher. These guys are no longer involved here. I think the only way they get involved is if you come somewhere around this area here. So it would take probably a lot of selling, and I would see us staying in this range maybe for some time now. Like a massive range here. I think this would be probably the one to play. And then if they decide to be really nasty, right? You know, visiting somewhere at 41.24 is also doable, right? But that's far away. Does that make sense? At least some of the analysis. Does it click at least for somebody? So from balance standpoint, guys, I don't overcomplicate it. You're in a balance. The trading rules of the balance apply. And as always, when you get a new month, you have to look at it from the monthly standpoint, right? So if you look now, what is value doing on the monthlies?
Stacking.
Yeah, this is clear. You know, this is bullish. This is not necessarily bearish, right? So the only bearishness that you might have now is if you kind of draw this line here. Why is this line important? I'm just going to delete it or move it down. Why is it important?
Penthouse.
So pay attention, for instance, right? So we were stacking here, overlapping, and then you had a really tight value here. And then the value started doing what? This is a clear shift, right? The value low became prior value area high is now value area low. And then you had an right? And then an outside bar, and then a higher overlap. And then from this range, you sold off, right? So this level here becomes fairly important. Why?
What's gonna be resistance? Was
Well,
support? Now it's
yeah. So if they can get inside of this, right? So I would just go somewhere like this.
Because I would anticipate them to do the same thing, get back in there and keep building value there because they did it before.
Exactly. So, but now if they try to get in twice and they're not able to, what is the market telling you?
They don't like prices higher.
You know, you have this one, and you have this one here on the monthly, and they don't like it. We tested the bottom here twice, and of course, we didn't like it on the bottom either. But now it's the time, right? If the bulls can, let's say, reclaim this 1575, what do you see happening? Let's just draw this level here and see how that corresponds to where we've been. So February low, value area low is right here at 6,005, which is very close to where we rejected. Okay. And this is now happens to be what?
May value area high.
And what could you not take this right here and kind of draw the FVP? And you guys see the green line? Let's put that one there. Okay. Does that make sense now? Why we would want them above this level? And ultimately, then you're below the last month POC would be here. So if you can't hold a price there, what does that mean?
We're rejecting the price is higher. There's
Yeah,
nobody able.
the price is higher. We believe the price is cheaper. It's no longer equilibrium, so we're going to auction to seek floor. And now when you're like, oh, well, where can we go? Why would this level be super important, right?
That's the next fairest value.
Yeah. And it happens to be one of the March POCs, right? Which we kind of, I would say, gapped up over it. So if you guys look at the price action, we went up, then we came back, and then we came back twice for the retest, here. So this level here, if you can't hold it, pretty high odds Would this be 80% here?
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be more than 80, right? Because you're below the POC of the monthlies, right? The next level is value area low. Would I care to see if they can hold that prior level here? Yeah, I mean, this level here that I'm about to mark, I would say is pretty important, right? And then you have this overlap. I'm trying not to go too far, but it's identical, right? So look at this now overlap here. And now you see the price action that we were stuck in. You guys think it's a coincidence that we were stuck in the shit range here now? No, I mean you have some values that are shifting. They're contracting here, and you can see that they've done it before. They've done it before here. Traded lot right, pretty much similar, maybe even worse here than now. We're getting some expansion, so it's pretty bad, right? And if we lose this 58.60, I would say the odds are here, ultimately super high that you're gonna go to the bottom. They're already high. They're gonna now if they can't hold this prior, resistance here where they came and rejected, and now they're trying to hold it. If they lose that, it really opens the floodgates, right? And I would say this, April VPOC monthly, I would definitely mark that as below this. You're targeting some of these levels here. Okay, so that's just monthly. Does it make sense what it's telling you? So it's bullish in terms of profiles, right? They're stacking higher. It's bearish. Why? What is the bearish caution it's giving you?
Because they gapped up. Sorry, go ahead.
They tried 2 times, right, to go higher, and they failed both times here. Is there anything on May's profile that gives you some curiosity how they traded this, right?
Just the structure of it, like the LVN that they're above is like just crazy.
What about the value area high that it stayed so high? Is anyone not like confused a little bit? I mean, they traded a lot here and it did not shift at all from all-time highs of May. I mean, from the highs of the May, sorry. It stayed up there, right? And that in itself is bullish. Because ideally they should have, they should have been higher than that. Should have been dropping that value area high. Because right now it's at the extreme high, right? Does that make sense? When the profile stays at when value area high stays at the top like that, that's pretty bullish. But we've had that happen before. This one here pulled back, but not much. This one, we are far from it. So I wouldn't be surprised, right, that we get a sell-off if we can't reclaim this, I would say, zone here. Above the zone, things change, and this is weekly levels. Okay. Any questions on weekly? I'm sorry, on monthly, not weekly. I don't know what's that. Let's go take a look at weekly. Weekly should be pretty straightforward. I would say, what's the best thing to do here? I mean, if I just look at this, right, for the 3 weeks, you can draw the lines, right, and figure out what's going on. So above 70 here, and the extreme high here is at 87.5. Of the 3-week balance high is right here. So I would definitely mark that. And then once you mark these levels, it might seem like a lot, but when you go on 5 minutes to execute, you won't see all these levels, right? So now you have the first sig here sitting right here. It's pretty narrow. here. Does anyone notice something interesting between the SIG1 for 3 weeks and then the first 2 weeks of value being the same? Identical value area low, right? And then when you draw the SIGs, it moves up because of this one, correct? Value shifted, but what is there any issues in this week?
Yes, very narrow range.
What does that tell you?
There were no other time frame participants, but I see a lot of value. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's on 65 minutes, right? So if you go on daily, right, it would be different. And take a look at this, for instance, the 65 minute, there's a lot of volume. Is there any anomaly candle here?
Yeah.
So this candle here and this volume here is a massive anomaly. Does everybody understand that? Is there anyone that doesn't? Okay. It's better to ask them, not now. So how is it framing up, framing down? What is it doing?
Just balancing. It's an inside week.
Yeah, just a really tight inside week, and we're expecting a break either way, right? Of course, on a daily, you will not find anything on the dailies now that change your mind from the balance, right? And the longer we stay in here, the more aggressive the move is going to be out of there. Because this is, if you think about a balloon, you keep blowing it, eventually it's just going to pop. And that's exactly what's happening here. The more air you add to it, the further it's going to go. And, this is a prime example of it. When you're trading, say it again.
So maybe later.
Oh, yeah, give me 10 minutes.
When you're trading inside like this, do you care about the access inside of this balance as much?
Nope. No.
No, you don't care for it, right? And a lot of people, new traders to market profile, they're like, man, we had this massive access on the bottom. That's great. They really think the other time frame participants don't know about these levels, like they're not aware of this. Of course they're aware. They have more data than we do. You want the access to be above these highs, right? 3-week balance high. You want somebody to kind of do, they peak above here, and then you get that massive liquidation, and it ends up something like this. Quick spike, and you have a B, and then a lot of access with the B period, like lowercase b at the top. That would be extremely bearish. And the same can be said here. You come back, and the price action comes back, and you have a lowercase p in a downtrend, let's say. That's a sign of reversal, and then ultimately a short cover rally kind of goes from here. Does that make sense? So don't pay too much attention, I would say, to access inside of it here. And as of right now, I don't think we have massive access anywhere, right? Maybe some here that we saw from this balance when they tried to go higher, they really sold off. So within this massive zone that we have, you still have some, little pockets of value that are being created. And the one that we're in now, right? So if you think about the SIGs, we're in.
The painful order and everything else Dash needs in life.
Within this major balance, you can still have tiny little balances like you have now, right? So if you look within that balance here, you have a balance here, right? And you see, anytime we dipped below, what happened? What did we do with price? Where did price go? They brought it back within 68% of the cumulative value. Is that correct? You peaked below it. Not a lot of time spent. They brought it back to where? What is this level?
Fair price.
Yeah, this is the fairest price. So they bring it back to the fairest price. So there's a lot of, players now. The short-term traders are loving this, right? Why would they love this?
Oh, just play the edges. It's easy.
I mean, this is a lot easier, guys. I mean, it's much easier to trade this than it is, sometimes a trend. If you're caught on the wrong side of the trend, you can be liquidated rather quickly. Here, where it's a predefined risk and reward. And now you see it, right? I mean, we go to the bottom, you go to the POC. Tomorrow, let's say you lose this POC here, right? We are 15, I don't know where we are right now. If they lose this, right? The POC here, which is a value area low for 2 days, what do you think happens next if you lose this level here?
Just visit that 3-week SIG 1 level.
Yeah, no, that's correct. You would most likely go all the way to 5884. So
But in terms of playing and gauging the balance, isn't it always kind of just ill-advised to try and like predict or tell like what side this is going to break out to or anything? Like we just have to play it level to level until it happens.
here you're level to level, and you don't want to do the price discovery, I would say, on any of this by yourself, right? Let's say, we gap up, the wars are ending, tariffs are gone, and you gap up here, right? Somewhere around here, your job is not to buy here. Even though it seems tempting that emotions change, you feel left out. Your job is not here because, it's balance, right? Let them auction higher and let them give you a reason this, and that's where the patient comes into play. A lot of people hit market buy here, and then, those people are no longer with us. You do not want to gauge, is it going to be, right? If, let's say you're taking a short at the extremes here, or long, somewhere around the SIG 1 here, then you want to be, looking for opportunities to drive to POC first, and then second here. And that's how you play. That's why I say it's predefined. But price discovery at the extremes by yourself, it's a little risky. Can you scalp? Yeah, sure. Catch a few points, but those points could become big losses if you're not following what's happening, I would say, at that time.
I have one more question in terms of that. I guess in the moment of truth, like when the balance finally does break, is there ever a situation where, like, let's say that happens, like the wars end and everything, we gap up to SIG 1, and what kind of would be the tells that, hey, like maybe this time, like I shouldn't grab puts, like, because I mean that's why it's always so important that we should like look above and then reclaim levels. But sometimes I end up, I guess, like shorting the train in that regard, and then I'm the one caught on the wrong side of the trend.
I typically want, and this is, my rule, and a lot of, I would say, traders pay attention to it. During the day, I want 30 minutes to be above a key level before I consider it accepted. If you go above a level and then you lose it quickly, then you're not being accepted at the price higher than that. And if you're not accepted at a price higher than that, that means you're going to look for a price lower than that. And that's kind of like the way my mind is trained to do it. So take a look at this. How many rejections did we have, for instance? I don't know when this was Thursday here. So I'm just looking above this dotted line here. That's pretty tiny. Here, this dotted line here. Let's make it solid. So you see this line, it was pretty resistance, right? I mean, 1, 2, and then you take a look at this and you're like, okay, well, this looks like it's breaking out, right? We dipped low. Thankfully, some of us closed the puts here. They literally reversed everything, right? But did they get accepted here?
No.
Nope.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, and a sixth one closed where?
Below it.
What about this one too? So you have 2 candles of 10 minutes, only 40 minutes spent above, and then you're back again below. So the odds that they're going to be here tonight, who wants to take a bet? I'm willing to take a bet anything you want. Anyone, whatever you want. I'm giving you an advantage here.
One jar of
is
peanut butter.
Is it cheating if I already have a short that's supposed to exit there?
You want to close the short there. We're gonna go probably somewhere here, like right here, come back, and then they're gonna do some crazy shit at 7:30 a.m.
Yeah, so if I'm at that solid black, the level that we
bottom?
were talking about,
Or
and if
top?
I know the top one, sorry, the one that you just drawn,
Yep.
and I'm conscious of just market auction theory and who am supposedly should be playing with. If I'm pressing market buy there, then logically it just looks like, all right, if that level's not generating more buying, then I probably shouldn't be long there.
That's correct. I mean, think about it. You spent so much time here, and let's say you spent so much volume, but the price did not make higher highs. That's a clear sign of absorption. And then typically, that's why I was saying, zoom in, on the candles and see what is happening. So look at the day here, right? I'm looking just from noon till here, 3:30. You're telling me at 3:30 that your volume here, you did not pick it up at all? Slightly above the average, but then this one here, same like that one, but you're pushing it, the close even lower. And then here you picked up, quite a bit, but that's 3:30. I don't really look for anomalies at that time, right? Just because of the orders and close. But this doesn't scream, that they're really, really bullish. Because if you're really, really bullish, I would want to see something like this. And like this candle here is the one that you want to be aware of. Right? So if you just mark this candle, the high and low of it, just pay attention where the action is happening right now. Surprised?
Honestly, Short, one thing I was thinking Friday, you see, obviously you're pointing out, the giant red or sell volume, there at the end of the day. And it's almost like, obviously, well, the market did not substantially move a lot. So I kind of felt like it's going to have to probably go down once the market starts going to make up for all those orders that sold real fast Friday. You know what I mean?
This order is going to be tested here. The bottom, well, obviously was tested once already, below it. And I think if they lose this, then most likely you're headed here. 80 would be a good target.
All right.
So I would close my short as well there.
Were they net short over the weekend?
So now we can take a look at that, right? So if you go here, I don't have daily candles. You could easily tell on dailies. Let's see, let's turn this on. And then for a lot of New York folks, you can kind of turn these on. Let's hide the candle here for a moment. So here's your close, right? So this is your settle price right now. So this is our settle price, right? At 16, pretty important level. And now you're trading way below it. How's inventory?
Net short.
Short.
Inventory is not short, right? So if inventory is not short and we're in balance, either we're gonna break this level that they're bouncing off of right here in 97 and give a test tonight, or they're gonna sweep it, come back, and then they're gonna go much higher, right? As of right now, it looks like we're gonna be testing 84. I would say pretty high chance. So, and look, this is your, SVP value area low. You're kind of bouncing right, but you dipped below it. And the value shifted lower, right? Because if the value that you're trading in now is closer to the area low, and you tried to bounce, but did they make higher highs here? This was the opening high, and look what they're doing here. It's lower high, and we have a lower low. Now, if they lose this level, I'm pretty certain they're going to test this, give us the bottom, and they're going to try. The bears will try to hold the price ideally in this quadrant overnight. If they are able to do that, well then, tomorrow we could have a really nice setup, right? If they open somewhere in here, which is not too far from value, right? If they open here and come back here, what do you think we should do?
Short the shit out of it.
Well, don't short this. I promise you.
Long.
You want to go looking something like this. And that'll be a nice, right? That'll be, not a lot of points, but it'll be easy points. You're talking about 50 points. For a lot of you guys that have smaller accounts, even buying 2 MES and just let it ride, that's pretty good money. Okay. I'm still short, by the way, from earlier. Does that make sense for a lot of you guys? We want the bulls to hold this level day to day. If not, then go 84. But ultimately, we want to be at this level. We don't want them below this zone here. Can mark this as PD value area low, and you'll see how it respects it here shortly. I'm just gonna delete a bunch of these boxes because I will not remember what I was talking about. Right. That's the only one I need. All right. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow, and just watch out for this PD value area low as we approach it. On Sunday, we can do a class as well as a stocks cam. I haven't actually bought any shares of anything yet. So we'll revisit, see if there's any finds, and then we can go more ad hoc with you guys. That we want to see if there's any opportunities from anyone else this season, not necessarily scams. We can definitely run them, and we will, but just come up with the ideas. And typically, I don't look for stocks below $20 unless I'm playing with $5,000-$10,000 amounts. But that's not my preference of investing for long term. I like good companies at a discount. So if you guys have any and you find some good setups, bring it up and we'll review it. All right.
Shorty, thank you, Shorty. Can you look at the news tomorrow? Jerome Powell speaking, and are you going to be live at all? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna be live tomorrow, but there tomorrow is gonna be, this week actually alone is gonna be pretty. I would say it's not only gonna be, news itself. There's a lot of speakers, right, lined up, and starting Tuesday, there's a lot going on, right? So you have the jolts happening, right? PMIs happening. Then you have, I believe, the jobless claims, and I don't think there's anything Friday that's non-farm or non-NFPs Friday. So it could be a lot of fireworks, and I think they're leaning more, right? That's at least what the politicians want, but the politicians don't make the rules. And here's your, like I said, what's your PD value area low? Look, this the developing value area low, they ran below, and somebody said, should I short that? Well, look, somebody probably shorted this and it's crying right here because it got bought back up. So now if they reclaim this, they again to 903, which is about 5 points, not a lot, but and if they lose this low, then most likely they're going to test below the PD value here, and then this would be a nice setup for overnight, right? If they do something like this and give you this long, well, you could take this from here, 10 points with a lot of ease. So watch that. But again, I'm just giving you a good offer on 84 if anyone's interested. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you,
Shorty.
Shorty. Good night, guys.